All right, so what I'm going to do now is I want to get this shaft in line here. I want to make sure I have these drawings orientated correctly. So this is obviously the anterior view, is the posterior. This is the lateral view, and it's the right shoulder, right? So this is anterior. Let me just make this a little brighter so you can see a little better. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to lock that image layers again, put them on reference, and create a cube. And I'm going to move the cube into position on both windows. Okay. Now, rather than do a lot of things by myself, by hand, I'm going to work with the software. So this cube is selected, and I'm in the input um, values for that cube, and I'm going to call the cube right shaft so that I can keep it straight. I click on the word height, middle mouse drag, and I can scale the height. So I'm not really worried about the head, the tubercles, or actually the trochlea or the capitulum. I'm just using the tubercle and the shaft as my major focus. So I'll narrow my width a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing. Let's change this to wireframe, and I'll do the same thing from the lateral view here, or the view of the lateral surface, um, to kind of get a little more consistent. Let's make this window bigger so we're a little closer to what they were seeing. Okay. Now there's a lot of subtlety here, in the shape, and really what it almost looks like it's curving, but really what's happening is that superior half is cylindrical and the inferior half begins to get a scoop, like a canoe paddle that's then been bent a wee bit anteriorly at its inferior margin. Um, the trochlea and capitulum are on there. I'm not going to create them, but I am going to create the epicondyles out of this. So what I'm going to do next is create subdivisions in the height. So I clicked on the word subdivision, again middle mouse, drag, and it adds subdivisions. So I'll probably do about that many for right now. I'll take this top set of edges. I'm going to turn off the soft select and move them up. And I'll take this next set of edges, move it up a little bit, and scale it a little thinner. And then here, this is where you start seeing the cylinder from the anterior view. You start seeing the cylinder becoming more of a flattened surface. So it stays wide, or it actually gets wider in the medial lateral plane. Now, I want to get that bottom plane, so I'm going to go to perspective so I can grab the bottom of this and scale it out and make it a little thinner. Okay. And I'll take the edge, maybe I'll take this and add one more edge here. So this tool right here I just grabbed, that's the mesh insert edge loop. Whatever the tool you're using most recently, the software will put it right here below your camera controls. So I recognize that icon, and that's why I just grabbed that instead of going up to the other menu. Okay. All right. Now I've got some. But you can see this thing is really, really thick. So I'm going to go from the other side. Yeah. Okay. So I have to grab these edges and thin them down a little bit. And then I'm also going to want to take this whole shaft, zoom in a little bit. I take these faces and just move them forward just a wee bit. And what I'd like, see, that doesn't look bad for the total width. What I'd like is a line about here. So let's add another edge loop. Keep that one there. Grab this edge and extend it out. And then I'm going to take this face and just, whoops, wrong face. Nope, it's this one. And move it to the position of that greater tubercle. And I'll take the vertices here and move them down. So I still would probably need a bit of a adjustment here. Bring that up and bring this set of vertices in just a little bit. But in order to get this curve or this, I'm going to have to move those vertices, and I'm again going to have to insert an edge loop. That lets me take a set of vertices and move them to the end. And I may have to take this edge, move it up, so I get that transition there. So you have to be a little careful that you're not, staying. I'm a little concerned about staying quite so exclusively in this front view, because I can convince myself that everything looks great here and then find out from one of the other views that I'm way off. So I'm not going to get too carried away here. And I know from my drawing that stays pretty broad when it's down there. All right, now let's go back. This is a little confusing because the software calls this left, but I know I'm doing the right arm, the right shoulder. I want to make sure my head's this way, so I know this bend has to be that way. So I'm going to take these edges here and move them in line a little bit with this the shape I see here. Maybe scale these a little bit too, because they're kind of big for that, a little too thick. So again, this shaft is coming down as a cylinder up top, and then it begins to change into a flattened paddle, if you will. It becomes a wee bit concave, right in here. So let's go to the perspective window for a second. And let's get the face and back to my left side view and grab that. So you can see if you look at my drawing, it gets thick. The tubercle, the lateral, I'm sorry, not tubercle, but epicondyle gets thick. But this edge right here, that becomes pulled out and exaggerated because of the uh, power of the brachioradialis that's attaching to it. And we can see, usually that's considered the just an edge. I'm trying to find a specific name for it, but I can't look at don't remember off the top of my head. So we can look that up later. So I'm taking this, bringing it in. So I'm beginning to get that curve. And you notice it does come back broader again. So I'm going to take the epicondyle and hold that edge. Okay. So we could maybe bring this in just a little bit. Now you can see here, for the medial epicondyle, I need a nice big chunk of bone to come out there. And I've kind of modified this a little more than I should have probably, in order to get that lateral surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this face, and these faces. So those three faces, and I'll pull them out a little bit. And then I'm going to grab just this face and that one. The one above it. Those two. No, I guess I got to grab that one too. And I'm going to say edit mesh extrude and bring those guys out. Ooh, missed the one in the middle, sorry. And then edit mesh extrude and bring them out and then scale them smaller. Oh, they separated there. Well, that didn't work, sorry. So I undid that. Let me stop the tape and then we'll do the next part.